Joseph saw the same pyramids and temples in Egypt that can still be seen today, just like these pictures. The story of Joseph's fate in Egypt takes up almost 3 chapters in the book of Genesis. The story I tell contains just the highlights. For the whole story, read Genesis 39:1 to 41:39.
When Joseph was taken to Egypt, Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials, bought him. He was young, intelligent, good-looking, the perfect addition to any wealthy household. God was with him. His abilities came to Potiphar's attention, and before very long he was put in charge of the entire household. Potiphar didn't have to do a thing to take care of his own home. He grew into a very handsome man. Potiphar's wife bothered him day after day after day, but he resisted and didn't give in. One day, there were no other household servants nearby. Potiphar's wife grabbed him by the coat. He pulled off the coat and ran, leaving the coat in her hands. She called for the servants and said, "Look, the Hebrew tried to bother me, and I screamed, and he left his coat and ran away." Well, she kept the coat right there. And as soon as Potiphar got home, she told him the same story. Potiphar was furious. He had Joseph thrown into prison. He had done nothing, but he couldn't do anything since he was a slave, and Potiphar could do what he liked. While he was there in prison, his abilities were once again noticed by the jailer. He was put in charge of all the prisoners, and eventually he ran the whole prison. After a time, Pharaoh got upset with his chief cupbearer and the chief baker. He had them both thrown into the same dungeon with Joseph. Now Joseph knew who they were, and one day he saw them and said, "Why the long faces? What's the matter?" And they said, "We've both had dreams, and there's no one here to interpret them for us." While Joseph said, "Isn't interpretation God's business? Tell me the dream." The chief cupbearer said, "Well, I dreamed that there was a vine, and there were 3 branches. Each branch grew buds, and then blossoms, and then grapes. And I had the Pharaoh's cup. I squeezed the grapes into the cup and put the cup in Pharaoh's hands." Joseph said, "Well, that means in 3 days you're going to be restored to your position, and once more you will put the cup into Pharaoh's hands." Well, the chief baker heard this, and he figured, well, I'll give it a shot. So he said, "Joseph, this is my dream. I had 3 baskets of bread on my head, and filled with all kinds of baked goods for the Pharaoh. But the birds were eating the bread." Joseph said, "Well, that means in 3 days, Pharaoh's going to cut your head off, and the birds will eat your flesh." Well, soon, Pharaoh threw a birthday party for all his servants. The chief cupbearer was restored to his position, served the Pharaoh with his cup just as he had before. But the Pharaoh executed the baker, and the birds ate his flesh. God was with Joseph, but he had asked the chief cupbearer not to forget him, but to help him get out of prison by bringing his case to the Pharaoh. He said, "I've done nothing. I was abducted from my homeland, and I've done even nothing here that would mean I had to be put in a dungeon." But the chief cupbearer forgot all about him, and Joseph stayed in prison.